I think we've spoken about your business. I would love to hear a little bit about your personal journey as well. I mean, there are so many things that I've read and I was boggled by. I saw that you've traveled some 80 countries and you've been hiking, across different mountains, Himalayas, Andes, Alps, whatnot. I don't understand this. Honestly, I have no clue how you're doing this. You've been doing businesses for a very long time. When are you finding time to do this? I want to understand a little bit what goes inside your brain and what has been your journey so far.
Sure. The slightly longer story is that so when I went to IIT Madras and then went to the US, and almost sort of accidentally I ended up in the Silicon Valley. And even during grad school, we started a company, and there was a little bit of an accident. I just happened to meet the people who were doing a company, and then I joined a startup. And that startup went public in 2 years. So I was very lucky at that time, right? And I, got my green card. So I managed to cash out, and then I went back and the company I was doing in grad school, and we grew that and sold that company, right? This is sort of in a pre-internet era almost. And what I do, I've always done, is that a lot of people want to say, like, I'll do my startup, I'll make a lot of money, and then I will do scuba diving or I will go traveling. That's kind of a typical paradigm. Again, there's nothing wrong with
Mojito on the beach paradigm of the American dream.
On the beach, American dream, right? So I will do I'll work very hard, I'll be successful at it. And then I will chill out, and then I'll figure out, life, what to do. It's almost like there's a famous book on this topic. So to borrow from that book, it's called the lockbox fantasy, which is like, hey, I will, lock up my dreams in this box and let me do what I need to do to make money. And once I make my money, and then I'll open up the lockbox and, I'll happily living with mojito on the beach, right?
Yeah.
But in observing my own classmates from IIT and all those 3 years, the truth is that never works out. And the reason it doesn't, there's a good reason why it doesn't work out. Because when you're doing a startup, or when you want to make money and you want to make lots of millions of dollars or whatever, the process is so hard, right? Making money is not easy. I mean, you can get a job and make money, but if you want to start a business and make money in that, my God, it's hard. Right, and anybody who's tried it will know that what I'm talking about. It's easy in the beginning, right? You can start with full enthu, but the grind in the middle, especially, and towards the end, is very, very hard. And what happens in that process is that it changes you. So your enthu that you have for hiking or diving or skiing or whatever, a bunch of things, it doesn't seem that exciting anymore, right? And then life happens, right? You marry, you have kids, a whole bunch of things happen to you in life. That the need for doing that kind of comes down, right? You're happy with so we can maybe go get drunk, and that's fine. Again, nothing wrong with any of that, if that's what you want to do. But if you wanted to have a dream or whatever, doing this, doing that, you cannot wait in the end. So that's what I believe in. So literally almost every year in my 30 years, I've done only startups. I've never done anything other than startups in my life, except for a period of time when I sold my company to HP. And I had to stay there for a few years. I've taken at least 6 weeks off, right? No matter what, hell or high water. Every year. And I had to do what I had to do. It's very hard. Obviously, you need to have very good co-founders to be able to pull it off. But that's kind of my personal rule, and that's what I've done. And it's been enriching, to say the least.
Sounds like all these 6 weeks you've traveled a lot. Your idea of taking off was travel. Is that correct?
Travel is a big part. I've also taken breaks between startups. I've done many startups. Right? I started my first company, sold it off. Started a second company, shut it down because it didn't go well. Started Snapfish, sold it off. Started work for Nandan at Aadhaar. I spent 2 years back in Aadhaar. And then I started a fund called Prime Ventures. Prime is the largest seed fund right now, along with one of my co-founders from Snapfish. And that has done extremely well. And then, I've done MoneyTap, Freo. And by the way, now I've just handed over the CEO position to one of my co-founders, and I'm more of a chairman of the company. But during all these transitions as well, I usually take a few months off. One time I took a year off, and I traveled.